Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by the superbly versatile all-electric EQB from Mercedes-Benz. The vehicle all-electric, the feeling all Mercedes. Learn more at nbusa.com/EQB. We'll talk to former Minnesota Timberwolf Wally Szczerbiak. He's a Knicks analyst, and he'll join us coming up here momentarily as the Knicks didn't put up a fight yesterday. And it was one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. Social media was saying, I can't believe Tibbs has given up already. And then the other part was, hey, now's the time to take out your starters and let them rest. And I'm thinking their starters are their bench, and their bench is their starters. So just get Brunson out of there for the most part, and hopefully no more injuries. Yeah, Paulie?
You know, I saw a couple of people on sports media said the Knicks quit at one point yesterday, and we're really hesitant about saying stuff like that with pro players. But is there a difference between quit and realizing today's not your day? Because that's what it felt like. At some point, I think they realized this is not happening.
Yeah, this wasn't the example I would use and say, they quit. I just don't know if they ever got started. Yes, Eden.
I don't have any problem with that kind of thing. Like, are we going to really try to climb this mountain of a comeback right now, or should we just call this one a loss? See you again, Game 4.
Yeah, they need to rest.
Game 5,
yes,
whatever.
They need to rest. Game 5. Wally Szczerbiak, the Knicks color analyst, former Timberwolf great, joining us on the program. All right, how would you describe the Knicks' effort yesterday, Wally?
Well, Josh Hart said, they didn't have the energy required to compete yesterday. And this team, they don't make excuses. Tom Thibodeau doesn't make excuses. Obviously, they're decimated with injuries. 3 starters and 4 impact front court players not in the lineup. When you look at Bogdanovich, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and now OG Anunoby, who is a key piece, obviously, to this team on both ends of the floor, especially defensively guarding Pascal Siakam. At the same time, the team realizes it's 2-2. They had a big-time opportunity to pull off that win in Game 3, and that slipped out of their hands. They missed a couple layups in transition. They missed a couple free throws, and then Nembhard hit a 35-footer to ice that game away. And they had an opportunity to go up 3-0. And then on the quick turnaround, an afternoon game, with all the minutes those guys have been playing, I think it kind of caught up to them yesterday, and they didn't have the adrenaline and the emotional energy to compete. At the same time, it's a 3-game series, and 2 out of 3 are at the world's most famous arena, MSG, where the Knicks are playing great basketball.
Who has the advantage?
Well, it looks like the momentum has definitely swung in the Pacers' way. The Knicks are going to have to show early on in that game that they're there to compete. I think the Knicks still have the advantage because home court is huge, and Indiana hasn't proven that they can win in that building in this series. But at the same time, with the way the Knicks are dealing with the injuries they're dealing with, they're going to have to come up with a heroic effort to win Game 5.
Is home court advantage real in the NBA?
Absolutely, especially in the playoffs. We're not seeing it in the Denver series and the Minnesota series. But at the same time, it's tough to win on the road in the regular season, and then it carries over even more in the playoffs. Like that crowd at Indianapolis yesterday was electric. I mean, the emotion, the energy, the momentum that they gave their players, especially early on in that game, that's what home court advantage can do. And the Knicks fans have been crazy. They've been awesome. The Knicks are going to need that emotional support and that lift. They're going to need that adrenaline push. But quite honestly, if Jalen Brunson doesn't play well, then the Knicks are not going to win. He struggled the last 2 games. He's dealing with that foot injury. When he plays well, that's when all the role players fall into place. If he doesn't play well, the Knicks just don't have enough creative scoring to create good shots on the offensive end of the floor to compete with the high-octane offense of the Pacers.
But then you have to factor in officials. Why is it feels like officials favor the home team? It's a fact that you're going to get more calls when you're at home.
Yeah, that's the case. I always found the best officials that I ever worked with were the ones that didn't let the crowd affect their calls. Guys like Steve Javie, Monty McCutcheon, guys like that. They just were solid. Scott Foster's another one that comes to mind where he makes the right call no matter what. He's not influenced by the fans. He's not influenced by the momentum and the emotion of the game. They just make the call, and they make the call when they see it. So, that's what the NBA is trying to get to. At the same time, sometimes you can't hear yourself think in certain moments in those games. It's so loud in those arenas. So maybe officials, they see things one way, but the noise and the crowd is making their minds foggy, and they might get calls wrong. Listen, their jobs are tough. Those L2Ms, when they come out, you see those plays in real time. And then once you dissect them over and over and over, I think that's the only reason maybe they get some of those calls wrong. I think the officials are doing as much as they can to get the calls right. They're the best officials in the business that I've seen in any sport and any level of basketball. So there is some element of human error, and you have to just go by with what they say.
Okay, you don't have to mention any names. I mean, you can, but an official where you go, you know what? He's favoring this player or this team.
There's not. In my experience, there's never been any officials that are like that.
Wait, you never thought like Jordan was getting too many calls? Like Kobe? No, never.
No. Honestly.
Phantom calls where you're going, wait a minute, nobody touched him.
No, I played 10 years in the NBA. I think I got 5 technical fouls. I just believed that the officials, the NBA, gets the best in the business. They're trained, to the highest of level. I will say one thing about when I played compared to now. I think there's a lot of turnover in officials. So some of the officials are not as experienced, so they haven't been in big moments. Like some of the more experience is the most important thing in an official, in my opinion. But I used to go out there and trust their judgment. I used to play the game. I used to, not be a flopper. I used to believe that, you go out there and you just play your game. Those guys that complain all the time to the officials, if I put myself in an official's shoes, I would be like, just leave me alone. Let me do my job. Like, you're not going to influence me one way or another by just every time I blow the whistle running over to me and needing to have a conversation with me. I don't need that.
Were you trying to get calls by being a nice guy is what you're saying? So you took the opposite approach. Like, all right, I'm going to suck up to these guys. Hey, Scott, nice call there. And you pat them on the rear end. Was that like you, guy?
Like, if you notice, a lot of European players, this is one thing, my dad played for Real Madrid in Europe. So when he got called for a foul, he would raise his hand. He'd be like, that foul was on me. He'd look over to the scorer's table. He'd try to help out the scorer's table. That was his attitude. Like, these guys have a really tough job, okay? Obviously, these calls, some of them can go 50-50. There's a reason why we have replay and challenges, which I think is a great addition to the NBA. I think we should add more challenges for the coaching staff because it's so tough to get those calls right, and you have to get those calls right in a close game with so much on the line in these playoff games. So my attitude was that, I think officiating has been, suspect at times, but for the most part, it's as good as you're going to get it in an emotional game and a physical game like that. And you got to live with the decisions of those officials.
We're talking to Wally Szczerbiak. He's the Knicks color analyst, former Minnesota Timberwolf, 6th pick overall, I believe, in the 1999 draft. Explain to me who has the advantage with the Nuggets and the Timberwolves now.
It's definitely the Nuggets. They just stomped their foot on the Timberwolves and said, we're the reigning champs for a reason. You came in our building, you stole 2 wins, but we are not going anywhere. And I've said I think they're the favorites to win back-to-back and win the NBA championship. I've said that all season long. I think Michael Malone is the best coach in the NBA. And I'm not going to say it's not even close, but that guy's just a flat-out great coach. He knows how to motivate his guys. He's got the best player on the planet, in my opinion, in Nikola Jokic on that roster, and then he's got great pieces around him. The way Aaron Gordon's shooting the basketball, the way Aaron Gordon's playing, the athleticism that he has, this team looks pretty focused to go back-to-back, and they're not going to go out by losing their first 2 games at home. They came back and showed what they're made of, championship metal.
Are you okay with the comparisons with Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan?
I am. Listen, he's not, in that conversation yet. But as far as his attitude, his killer instinct, it's all about winning for him. He's only 22 years old. The athleticism, just the durability that he's showing at an early age. There's a lot of comparisons that you can make. very similar to Kobe Bryant. Like, in order to be in that conversation, listen, nobody's maybe ever going to reach, Michael Jordan. He's the greatest of all time, in my opinion. And it's, a big number two is way behind him. It's just because of the mental aspect. His mind, he never lost when he never lost in the biggest moments. And, Anthony Edwards is trying to get to that point where it's just all about winning when it matters at the most crucial moments. And the way he played last night, he was outstanding. And, his teammates got to kind of follow that lead and help him out, because this series is going to be interesting the way it's going to end up.
And you were a rookie in 1999. What was your welcome to the league moment? Who welcomed you to the NBA?
Welcome to the league moment. I would say it was the first time we played the Utah Jazz, and I tried to take a charge on Karl Malone. And he brought his knee right into my solar plexus and my sternum. And it was the charge. I got the charge, but it did not feel good. And he stood over me just laughing, like, welcome to the NBA, bro. And I'll never forget that.
Did you ever posterize somebody on a dunk?
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to catch a few dunks here and there. I caught Tim Duncan once late in my career. I caught Dirk Nowitzki once. There are a few highlights rolling around on YouTube if you want to check them out. I had a few sneaky dunk moments when I got that one-handed Statue of Liberty going. So there's a few out there back in the day.
That's pretty good. Hey, great to talk to you again, as always. Thank you, Wally.
My pleasure. It's always great to come on, and let's go Knicks. Let's see if they can bounce back.
That's Wally Szczerbiak. He's the Knicks color analyst, and he was a member of the all-rookie team. He was an all-star in 2002.